Hey, good day. It's Dan here. I hope you're doing well today. Today, I want to share with you one of my favorite tales. I was just listening to an audio version of a story called The Richest Man in Babylon. And it's a story that I've read and heard a number of times. I just stumbled upon, actually, a mentor of mine shared a audio version that I hadn't heard before, done by the Napoleon Hill Foundation. Napoleon Hill is one of my favorite mentors, and certainly somebody I looked up to and love learning from. So I was intrigued and wanted to listen to this story again. I haven't read or listened to it for quite a while. And so today I want to share with you the 3 big lessons from The Richest Man in Babylon. Now, if you haven't heard of The Richest Man in Babylon, this is a book or a short story written by Clason. His name escapes me at the moment. See if I can find it here. George Samuel Clason, born back in 1874. And he tells the tale of this gentleman, Arkad, who became the richest man in Babylon. And he was approached by some of his childhood friends who were not wealthy, who had struggled their whole lives and were wondering how it came to be that Arkad, their friend, who was just like them, somehow became the richest man in Babylon. And so he shares the tale of how when he was a young man and starting to work for a living, he aspired to be wealthy. He knew there was more to life than what he was doing, and he wasn't keen on the idea of laboring his whole life. And so he found a job as a scribe, which maybe back in ancient times was kind of like our photocopier. Back then they had to do it by hand. And one day, the wealthiest gentleman in the area at the time, a banker or a loan provider, came into his shop where he was a scribe and needed some scrolls copied. And so Arkad was given the job and promised them due the next morning. And the next day came and he wasn't done. He had worked hard on them, but he didn't get them all done. And Algamish, the wealthy gentleman, was not pleased that he wasn't done. But Arkad was inspired or had a fire in his belly that he wanted to know what this gentleman knew, how he came to be so wealthy. And so he spoke up and he said, Algamish, look, I know I didn't get done for you what I said I'd get done. I'm truly sorry about that. I'll make you a deal. If you'll share with me how you got so wealthy, I will work through the night and ensure that these scrolls are done for you in the morning. Which Algamish took as, it's not quite what he had hoped for, but this, I like your enthusiasm. I like your determination. I'll make you a deal. If you'll finish these scrolls by morning, I will share with you my secret to wealth. And so the next day rolls around and Arkad had worked through the night. The candle had given him a headache and he fought exhaustion, but he got the work done because he was determined to find out what this secret of success was from Algamish, who was a wealthy gentleman. And so the next day rolls around and he asked him, here's your scrolls, now tell me the secret. And at first he dismissed what he was told, because what Algamish said to him was that to keep this phrase in mind and to repeat it to himself over and over, and that phrase was, a part of all I earn is mine to keep. And he asked him, he said, how much of the money that you earn do you keep? And he said, well, I keep all the money that I earned. And he said, well, that's ridiculous. You don't keep all the money you earn. You spend it on food and sandals from the shoemaker and clothes and everything else that you spend your money on. How much of what you earn do you actually still have? To which Arkad replied, well, none. And that's where the first lesson came in. He said, so here is my encouragement to you. If you want to become wealthy, lesson number 1, is that a portion of all you earn is yours to keep, and you set it aside and you don't spend it. And his encouragement was 1/10 or 10%. And that's a lesson, actually I learned, I believe I was about 18 or 19, reading a book called The Wealthy Barber by a Canadian author, David Chilton. I can actually see it on my bookshelf here right in front of me. And I started putting away 10% of my earnings back at 19. And I think I was the only 19-year-old that I knew of anyway who had RRSPs at 19, or 401ks if you're down in the US, that had retirement savings at 19 years old. But that practice has served me very well. I have not been perfect with it. I certainly have fallen off the wagon a number of times. But getting that early start has really served me well. And that's, I had never heard of the Richest Man in Babylon at the time. I wish I had of, because that is a powerful lesson. So time goes on, and Algamish returns the next year to see how his student Arkad is doing, and Arkad had adopted the policy. He'd been putting money away, got tempted a number of times to spend it, but managed not to. And then when Algamish came in and asked him how he was doing, he said, "Oh, I'm doing great. I managed to save 1/10 of all I earned, and I just gave all my savings to my friend Asmer, the bricklayer, who's going to get on a boat and travel overseas and bring back fine gems for my money." To which Algamish said, "Well, why would you take advice about buying gems from a bricklayer? What does he know about gems?" He said, "You've just lost your money." And sure enough, he did lose his money, because Asmer went overseas and came back with a bunch of glass that looked like gems that were worth nothing. And so he started over, saving again. So lesson number 2 was be mindful of who you seek counsel from, or seek out mentors who are experts in the particular field you're looking for advice in. Be very careful who you take advice from. Just like you wouldn't go to your neighbor for dental work unless he happens to be a dentist. If he's a carpenter, I wouldn't go there. He might have a drill, but that's not the kind of dental work you're going to want done. And so another year goes by, and this time Arkad has saved all his money. And when Algamish asks him what he's done with his money, well, he explained how he had some really nice parties, had some fine wine, some great feasts, and basically eaten all his profits from his investments. He had invested wisely this time, but he had eaten all his profits. And so the lesson this time around was to teach your money to work for you. You can't eat your profits or they won't grow. And so Algamish shared with him how to get the savings that you have churning out enough profits that then you can spend your profits. But you got to make sure you get to a point where there's enough savings there, earning enough interest or enough gains that then supports you. And Robert Kiyosaki talks about it in his way, is get your passive income higher than your expenses. Once you get to that point, then your lifestyle is however you want it, because you're bringing in enough income, whether you work or not, to pay for your lifestyle. And so those were the 3 big lessons that I took away from The Richest Man in Babylon. I'm going to share a link to that video so you can hear the story in full. It's short. It will only take you about half an hour to watch the whole story, including a summary of all the great points in it. Fantastic to listen to time and again. There'll be a link to that somewhere around this video, wherever you're watching this. But the 3 main lessons from The Richest Man in Babylon were, number 1, keep a portion of all that you earn. And the encouragement is to do at least 10% or 1/10. Number 2 was be wary of who you take advice from. Only seek advice from people who are knowledgeable on the subject and who have gotten great results following the advice they're going to give you. And number 3 is teach your money to work for you and to have it grow. Don't eat your goose that laid a golden egg, or you won't get any more eggs. So that's the big takeaways from The Richest Man in Babylon. I hope you enjoyed that. I encourage you to go find a copy of that book or to watch the video linked down below here. It's a great story, and teach it to your children, because these principles will serve them well in life as well. So I hope you're doing well, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Make it a great day. Bye for now.